next we'll move on to my loose games. I've got around 100 carts. I do have some doubles in here, so I don't quite have close to 100 unique games, but we'll run through these. First I have here is Batman Returns. Now, this game blew me away when I actually played it. I did not play this when I originally had my Super Nintendo, but I emulated it a few years later, just playing some Super Nintendo games, and I emulated it. And this is a cool beat 'em up. The coolest thing about it is like just the variety of moves that Batman has. You can take two dudes and bash their heads together. You can throw a dude up into the background, into a wall or a window, you know, a storefront window in the background. It's just a lot of fun. It goes a long way to making a cool beat 'em up a little bit cooler. So Batman Returns is actually one of my favorite beat 'em ups. Definitely check that guy out if you have not played it. Very cool. You know, Batman fans, beat 'em up fans, very cool game. Next I have Pac-Man 2, The New Adventures. I played a little bit of this. It's kind of a Pac-Man runs around and you have to shoot things in his path that might be a danger to him. I played a little bit of it. It seems really cute and fun. It starts out with Pac-Man and his wife, and his baby starts crying. So the gist of the game is you're going to get baby a bottle. So it's cute. I'll play some more of this, and this is also a rental game. I have a passion for rental games and Sharpie name games. I just like stuff like that. It's cool history. But you know, some people do not like that stuff, and they always want to know how to get stickers and Sharpie and stuff off of games. And I will be doing a video about that in the future, just in case that's your thing. You want more clean, crisp cartridges. So be on the lookout for that video. Next I have Bassmasters Classic Pro Edition. Now, this is an upgrade to Bassmasters Classic, which is a cool fishing game. Fishing games on the Super Nintendo and just in the 16-bit era were really fun to me. I've spent a lot of time with this game. I think it's really fun. Next I have Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. This is probably, I don't know, this and Extra Innings are, you know, two of my favorite baseball games on the Super Nintendo. Like I said, I like baseball video games, and this is one of the best. It's a lot of fun. This is Nintendo developed. They actually owned the Mariners in this time. They just sold the Mariners, Nintendo did. They made, you know, pretty good money off of it as far as I could tell. You know, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, maybe they did, I don't know. But in this era, Nintendo actually owned the Seattle Mariners, so they made a few games based on Ken Griffey Jr. and the Mariners franchise. Next I have Chuck Rock. This is another Sony ImageSoft title. This is a lot of fun. I believe the developer was Core Design, and Sony ImageSoft actually produced this one, or published it rather. But this is a really cute caveman game. He goes around bopping dudes with his stomach. It's a lot of fun. There's a sequel called Son of Chuck that is supposed to be a little bit better. I have not played it, sadly. I need to find a copy. It's a little bit more expensive. This one was pretty cheap. I think I paid $6 for it. But that's a cool game. If you've not played Chuck Rock, definitely check it out. Very cutesy, Nintendo-ish, you know, Super Nintendo game about a caveman. Next I have Alien 3. This is another game on the Super Nintendo that I've always really enjoyed. I had this when I originally had my Super Nintendo, and it's just a lot of fun. It's kind of a Metroidvania-ish type game. It's kind of, you know, Metroid-ish. But what you do is you go to these terminals and you select missions, and as you complete missions you go through the game. and they range from, hey, save these prisoners in these cell blocks, get rid of these alien eggs, go weld these pipes. So there's a lot of variety in this. It's a shooter. You've got 3 different types of weapons. You're finding ammunition and health packs as you go through the base that has all kinds of different corridors. That's how it kind of feels like a Metroid game to me. But really fun. If you haven't played Alien 3 on the Super Nintendo, check it out. I've always really enjoyed it. Next I have Turtles in Time, Ninja Turtles 4. Fantastic beat 'em up. This is a awesome game. This is, I would say that if you have a Super Nintendo, this is one title that you definitely must have. This is based off of a arcade game of the same title, developed by Konami. They did a lot of Ninja Turtles license game in that time, and this is probably the best of them. I like them all, but Turtles in Time is fantastic. And there was also a remake that was released for the PlayStation 3 and I believe the Xbox 360. I'm not sure, but I've got it on my PS3. They changed a few things, took out a few bosses, and even a whole level. You know, it's a little bit more modernized and it's okay, but check it out if you guys are curious. But Turtles in Time is definitely one that you want for your Super Nintendo. But next I have Revolution X featuring Aerosmith. This is a like gallery shooter. You're moving a crosshair around the screen and shooting guys and finding, you know, like hidden caches of CDs, which are your bombs. It's kind of cool. It's kind of gritty. Features Aerosmith and a lot of their music in samples. Excuse me, guys. But it's just a fun game. I'm not sure if this supports the mouse or not. That would be a great way to play it if it does support the mouse. I've never checked it. And I don't have a mouse currently. I need to pick one up and see if it... But if you know that Revolution X, if it supports the mouse or not, let me know down in the comments. It's just something that I wasn't aware of. I don't play a lot of that game, but it is a cool game. Next I have Out to Lunch. This is kind of an obscure, more uncommon title. It's not rare, really, by any means, and I got it pretty cheap, but this is a highly regarded platformer. I haven't played a lot of it yet, but it's come highly recommended, so when I saw it, I grabbed it. I need to get into that soon. Next is another one of my absolute favorite games on the Super Nintendo. This is Super Smash TV. This is based on another Midway arcade title called Smash TV, done by Eugene Jarvis, who did Robotron originally. And it's much like Robotron. It's a twin stick shooter. You use the D-pad to move around and the face buttons determine the direction that you're shooting in. It's just a lot of fun. I like twin stick shooters a lot, and this is the measuring stick as far as twin stick shooters go, as far as I'm concerned. But I've never really found anything that's as fun as Super Smash TV. I play a lot of this. If you have not played Smash TV, definitely check it out. It's a very fun game. Next, another one of my absolute favorite games on the Super Nintendo, which a lot of these are. I like Super Nintendo games, so a lot of these games I'm going to be saying, oh, my absolute favorite game. But Final Fight is probably one of the first beat-em-up games I have ever played, and I just fell in love with it instantly. I like the aesthetic, the kind of grungy gang back streets, beat these guys up, and they're doing it with their fists and pile drivers and spin kicks and stuff. It's just cool to me. I especially I'm a Cody guy. I like Hagar. I think he's cool, but I'm a big Cody guy. I'm trying to teach myself the punch, punch, turn, punch, punch, turn, punch. It's a cool technique. I'll have a video up about it, but you may have seen it if you're a Final Fight fan. It's cool. It's a good way to credit the game. it's just a kind of little trick that was kind of, exploited in the game. My daughter is actually named after Cody. We named her Dakota. I know I stole it from Robin Williams, but I love this game too, and I thought it was cool to name my daughter after my favorite character and one of my favorite games. Next, I have Yoshi's Island. This is a very highly regarded Super Nintendo game as well. If you own a Super Nintendo, you should have Yoshi's Island. I've never played a lot of this, so I'm really excited to have this in my collection now, to see why everybody's been so stoked about it all these years. So, really happy to have that. Next, one of my Madden games. This is Madden 97. Like I said, I finished my Madden loose collection today with Madden 98, so that should be coming soon. That's Madden 97. Next, I have an interesting title. This is Super Play Action Football. This is actually a Nintendo-developed American football game, which kind of blew my mind. But it's really cool. It's got some Nintendo stuff in it. When at the kickoff, when you flip the coin to see who wants to kick or receive, it's a Mario coin. It's got Mario's face on the heads and the Tanuki tail on the tails. So that was cool. It's kind of a weird football game because it's at an isometric view and you don't get to view as much of the field as you want to in a football game. So that's kind of weird. I need to play some more of it. But, Nintendo made an American football game. Kind of weirded me out when I found out about that. Next, I have Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball. This is a game that I've never really played. I just picked it up a few days ago. But it's kind of famous for being a bad game. But there are some bad games that I really like, so this might be good. If you've played Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball and you like it or you think it's terrible as well, let me know down in the comments. I haven't checked this out yet. I need to get to it. I just picked it up a few days ago. Next I have Zombies Ate My Neighbors. This is a great top-down shooter. It has multiple weapons that you'll find throughout levels. This has like 55 different levels in it. And what you're doing in this game is you're trying to rescue your neighbors from, zombies and all kinds of different monsters. There's one monster that spits out sprouts of fungus, and you're mowing down that monster with a lawnmower weapon. There's just a lot of goofy stuff that goes on in this. The first boss is a giant baby. It's a really fun, cute, cutesy horror game. It's a lot of fun. I love Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Next is another copy of Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. Again, that's one of my doubles. I plan on giving those away at some point, contests on my channel, so definitely subscribe, like, comment, and share. And be in touch with me for those contests. I don't know when or how I'm going to do those, but I will be giving some of my doubles away. That's definitely something I plan on doing. This is another copy of Batman Returns. So, like I said, Batman Returns, awesome beat 'em up. Stay tuned for a giveaway for Batman Returns at some point in the future. Super Off-Road. This is an awesome top-down racing game, very much in the vein of like RC Pro-Am. This is really cool. It kind of blew me away. I don't know what much to say about this, but it's got some cool like rock and roll music in it. Just very fun. I've really enjoyed it so far. And speaking of Super Off-Road, there is also a Switch eShop game that recently came out, this year. Called Rockin' Racing Off-Road, something to that effect, but it's very much this game. It was inspired by this game. That's a lot of fun as well. So check out Super Off-Road if you've not played it. Played that Switch game if you like those kind of arcadey top-down racing games. Next I have NBA Jam, the classic Midway arcade basketball game. Very cool. This one's got a Sharpie name. Kenneth Keith, if you're watching, I've got your NBA Jam. I'm loving it. It's in a good home. NBA Jam is cool. Next, I have a copy of Madden 95. It's got what I'm guessing are some Reynolds stickers on it. Like I said, I love Reynolds stickers. It gives a little bit of history to a title. So that's one of my Madden games. Here's another one, Madden 96. This one is very crisp, very nice label. Very clean cartridge. Next I have, another one of the great titles for the Super Nintendo. If you have a Super Nintendo, you should own Castlevania 4. This is like a pseudo-sequel remake of the original Castlevania. But the cool thing about Castlevania, like the standout feature of this game, is that you can flip the whip in all 8 directions, and you can hold it out and kind of flip it around. I can't tell you how long I've just stood there flinging that whip around just because I could. It's a lot of fun. But this is also a fantastic Castlevania game. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool graphics in it. Mode 7 was used really well in this. If you don't know what Mode 7 was, like I said, I'm not a technical guy, but it's this 3D protocol that was used on the Super Nintendo that, does some cool depth stuff and scrolling from different depths. I'll probably, have some video up here somewhere showing some Mode 7 effects for you. Next, I have NFL Quarterback Club 96. These are cool football games. The main thing that I like about these games is that they have like a mini game, like quarterback training section in them. So that's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing those little training drills. Next, I have Rival Turf. This is part of a trilogy of beat 'em ups on the Super Nintendo. This is a cool game, but they progressively got cooler in the trilogy, and they're progressively more expensive as well. But this is the first in that trilogy. There's this, Brawl Brothers, and the Peacekeepers. But they're cool beat 'em up games. A little obscure, a little uncommon, but if you're in Super Nintendo circles, you know these games. Rival Turf is just a little goofy, but the cover has always been famously, goofy. Again, we have a Sharpie name, Shane Robinson. If you're watching, I have your copy of Rival Turf, and it is in a good home. I love this guy. Next, I have a copy of Madden 96. I think we already had a copy of Madden 96, but here's another one. This one's a little beat up, but there's another copy of Madden 96 that will be given away at some point. Next, I have John Madden Football. This is the original. This one's in pretty good shape. I'm happy to have that one. Next is Star Ocean. Now, this is a reproduction because this is a translated game. This was released only in Japan originally. So I got a reproduction translated version of this game because it's a cool game. But this is my first tip for new collectors of cartridge-based systems like the Super Nintendo, NES, Genesis, and so forth. There are reproduction cartridges out there, and what that means is that this is not like the original game. This is a little bit of a different situation, but I want to talk about reproduction cartridges for a minute here. A reproduction cartridge is not like the original release of the game. This is something that someone cooked up in their bedroom or whatever, and you want to watch out for that because you don't want to pay $200 for, say, an Earthbound reproduction when it's not the real deal. It doesn't command that price like a legitimate Earthbound would. So, like I say, just watch out for that. If you're buying online, ask for board pics for expensive games and compare that to pictures that you can Google and make sure that that is a legitimate Earthbound that you're paying that $200 so for, or, Chrono Trigger, so on and so forth. Just something to keep in mind. Like I say, this is a little bit different deal. This is Star Ocean. This was originally released in Japan only for the Super Famicom. This reproduction is a translation. This was done by a guy named Marco Rossi in the Super Nintendo, North American Super Nintendo Collectors Group for me. He's got an Etsy shop called Squirrels Customs. Look him up if you're looking for some translated reproductions. He does cool work. What I really like about his stuff is that, you know, these shells are pretty close to what the original Super Nintendo games were, and this guy operates out of Texas. You guys might have noticed that I'm from Texas from the way I talk, and I'll get a good picture of this. I don't know if you can see it, but this cartridge says made in Texas where it would say made in Japan or assembled in Mexico. We'll talk about Majesticos here in a minute. But, you know, Texans are proud of the things that they do, and I'm really happy to have this in my collection because it says made in Texas, and this is a cool game. Definitely look up Marco Rossi on the North American Super Nintendo Collectors Group or on Etsy as Squirrels Customs. He does some really cool work. He comes highly recommended, and I'm very happy with the work that he did for me on this Star Ocean. This is very cool. But like I say, I don't have any problem with reproductions as long as they're, you know, sold and advertised as reproductions. Because, you know, I may buy a Earthbound reproduction for a cheaper price just to have an Earthbound cartridge before I buy one for $200 some odd. But something to keep an eye out for if you're buying expensive games. Definitely make sure that it is a legitimate copy. Next, I have Mohawk and Headphone Jack. This is one of my most uncommon games in my collection. Most of everything that I have is pretty common, but this is one of my more uncommon ones. It's not rare by any means, but it's a little more uncommon. This game is pretty cool, what I've played of it so far. I need to play more of it, but it's a real fast game. It kind of reminds me of Sonic, or it reminds me more of like Uniracers, the way it moves. It's kind of got this really fast whoop-de-doo kind of movement to it. I need to play more of this, but it's a cool game. A lot of people like it. Check it out if you can find it. Get it at a decent price. Next, I have Stunt Race FX. This is another Super FX chip game, like Yoshi's Island. What Super FX is they're special cartridges that have a extra chip in them that allow them to do more 3D stuff in these games. So this one is a little bit more uncommon and getting more so by the day. It's rising in price a little bit because this is probably one of the worst Super FX games. It's not really that cool a game. I mean, it's cool to have, but I don't dig it too much. But people got these and use them for Star Fox 2 reproductions. So they're getting less common all the time, and the actual Stunt Race FX is getting more expensive. So if you can get this guy at a decent price, definitely grab it. Finish out your Super FX chip games. Next is the original NFL Quarterback Club. This is another rental title. You know, I have a soft spot for rental titles. And again, I like this series because of the NFL quarterback training drills in the game. You know, you're like throwing footballs through tires and, you know, running drill courses and stuff. That's a lot of fun in these NFL Quarterback Club games. Next is Jack Nicklaus Golf. This is a cool golf game. I really liked what I've played of it. You know, it's golf, but it's a lot of fun. Next is my Super RBA Baseball from my box when we were going through my box collection there. This is another rental title, so cool to have that. Next I have Sunday Night NFL Football. This is another Sony ImageSoft game. This is a Blockbuster Video rental title. I like my rental titles once again. This is my Team NFL Football Konami developed football game from my box collection there. I've got NHL Stanley Cup Hockey. I'm not a big hockey fan, So I'm not too big into this. I haven't played a lot of it yet. Maybe I'll dig it when I play some more of it, but you know, not a big hockey fan. Next is my Tetris Dr. Mario from my boxed collection. Next I have a pretty sought after title on Super Nintendo. This is not really a rare game, but I see people looking for this all the time. But it's everywhere. I see it here and there quite a bit. And, you know, it's not super expensive either, but people really like Phantom 2040. And it's a cool game from what I've played of it so far. It's kind of got like a Mega Man or Metroid vibe to it, run and gun type stuff. It's fun. Next, I have the RPG that got me into RPGs. This is Final Fantasy 3 or 6. This is actually Final Fantasy 6, but it was numbered 3 here because we missed a couple titles, like Final Fantasy 2 is numbered Final Fantasy 2 here, but it's actually Final Fantasy 4. So there are some numbering issues on the Final Fantasy titles here in North America, but this is Final Fantasy 6. Titled Final Fantasy 3 here in North America. Fantastic turn-based RPG. This is the RPG game that got me into RPGs. Definitely check that out if you have not played it. Next is Extra Innings. This is another Sony ImageSoft title. This is another one of my favorite baseball games. Like I say, I like baseball games, and this one's really fun. It's got kind of a real cutesy look to it and very confident baseball mechanics. A lot of fun. And a special bonus to this particular cartridge that I have, this is another rental title. And as you can see there, it says, "Please be kind, rewind." They thought this was a tape. Or maybe they were being funny. I don't know. I think it's cute, and I'm glad to have that in my collection. Next, I have one of the Super Scope titles that I have. I do not have a Super Scope currently, but I'm looking to grab one soon. This is The Hunt for Red October. This is a light gun game for the Super Scope for the Super Nintendo. I have not played it because I don't have a Super Scope, but maybe it's pretty cool. You know, that was a big movie, so it's cool to have. And licensed games are not always terrible. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're pretty good. I've got some licensed titles that are some of my favorites. Next I have Out of This World. This was published by Interplay. This is a big 90s PC title. It's also often called Another World. I think that was the original title for it. This still sees releases on modern consoles all the time. I know they just celebrated a 20th anniversary for this game. It's a cool game. I've never finished it, but I've played quite a bit of it, and I enjoy it. I think it's cool. This and Flashback. I've got Flashback in here somewhere. We'll talk about that when I get to it. Next, I have Rise of the Robots. Now, this game was hyped up. I remember seeing in Game Pros and Nintendo Power and Electronic Gaming Monthly, magazines like that. There were ads for this game all over the place, and you would think because of that it was a cool game, but Rise of the Robots is not good. It's my opinion, and I don't normally just not like games, but I pretty violently don't like Rise of the Robots. But I may be wrong. If you like Rise of the Robots, leave a comment down in the comment section and tell me why this is cool and what it is I'm missing. Next I have Tetris Attack. This is a very highly regarded puzzle game for the Super Nintendo. This is very Nintendo. It stars Yoshi and Bowser. So very Nintendo-ified Tetris puzzle game. It's not exactly Tetris. It's a little bit different type of game. It's been a little while since I've played it, but a lot of people like this, so I grabbed it.